It is no news that I've always been a US babe. Like, I always wanted to go to the US for my master's. In fact, I kind of have a master's from the US. So I started US, during COVID, started my master's, and I was going to move to the US to complete my studies. And somehow, US always being US, I tried my first application on my visa, I got denied. And I was like, can't be, maybe something happened, maybe, this and this. I tried the second time, quite unfortunately, it did not happen again. And I was like, okay, let me just try again one more time. I tried the third time, it didn't work. I tried the fourth time and it didn't work. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I was just like, US, you guys are gonna have to take your 10,000 seats backwards and just allow me to move on with my future. Hey YouTube people, and welcome back to my channel. If I got $1 for every time someone asked me, hey Bella, why are you not recording anymore? Why are you not recording anymore? I'd be so rich by now. But I don't think you guys understand the work that goes into all these recording things. Like, I feel like doing this whole YouTube thing should be like a full-time job. And not even I feel, it should be a full-time job because it's the videoing, it's not even just the videoing, it's the record, it's the editing, right? It's too much work, it's so stressful. So I'm going to try to keep this very short because, as you all know, I am a completely, with all my chest, person that I don't say lazy but I just don't have the time. So let's just get right into it. So welcome back. And I'm recording this video because of my Jackpot people. And to be honest, like, I'm so tired of people asking me to record this particular video. So I'm just going to do it and get it over with so that you guys can leave my life alone. Right? Good. So today I'm going to be talking about moving to Prague and living in Prague as a Nigerian. And I think that is very interesting when people ask me this question, oh Amaka, why did you decide to move to Prague? What was the motivation? Seeing as Czech Republic is not exactly the country that would just pop up on anybody's list of like places. I mean, people travel to Prague for tourism and all that, but I don't think anybody would be thinking, oh, I'm going to Jackpot and my idea of Jackpot is Prague. People think the UK, the US, Canada, whatever, Germany, all those other places. So why Prague? Anyways, I'm just going to tell people that don't know my story, and hopefully the rest of you can catch up, right? The ones that already know, just sit back and just listen. It is no news that I've always been a US babe. Like, I always wanted to go to the US for my master's. In fact, I kind of have a master's from the US. So I started US, during COVID, started my master's, and I was going to move to the US to complete my studies. And somehow, US always being US, I tried my first application on my visa, I got denied. And I was like, can't be, maybe something happened, maybe, this and this. I tried the second time, quite unfortunately, it did not happen again. And I was like, okay, let me just try again one more time. I tried the third time, it didn't work. I tried the fourth time and it didn't work. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I was just like, US, you guys are gonna have to take your 10,000 seats backwards and just allow me to move on with my future. So in the process of doing that, I had a friend here who had moved. Maybe she should even be the one answering this question because I don't know why she would think of the Czech Republic. So I called her, and one of the evenings I was subbing, and like one of my friends was like, hey, you should reach out to that friend and ask her, hey, what's his like? Because here was really, from what I understood, it was very affordable and everything. And my dad was like, you know what, maybe try other options. I tried the UK. I was ready to go to the UK. So I reached out to my friend and I was like, hey, what is it like studying here? And she's like, oh, it's really good, you should try it, the opportunities, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, fine, what's the name of your school? And she told me the name of her school, and that's the school I currently go to, Charles University. And I'm like, okay, good. Coincidentally, this was sometime around like towards the closing of the admission term, and I was like, okay, right on time. So I did an application to Charles University. For context, I studied public and social policy in Charles University. So all I had to do was find the school website, read up on the school, and I'm very big on the reputation of any school. And fortunately, my parents were just beside me, like through the whole period. They were like, okay, we support you wherever you want to go through, seeing as I had done so much for the US and it wasn't working, and like I just really wanted to get this master's thing over with. So I did try to check on the website, read up on the school. I found out that it was an A-list school, the best university in Czech Republic, and one of the best and oldest in Europe. We had a very good reputation. I was like, okay, why not if not? And yes, as you may guess, Czech Republic is not an English-speaking country, but my school also offered like English courses. So I'm like, okay. I did reach out to the international students department. I indicated my interest. And then I went to the application process. Basically, the application process, all I needed was a letter of motivation, if I'm correct. And I think I needed my transcript, unofficial transcript during the process of application. And I think I also needed some sort of English waiver from my school. Which if you go to any private university in Nigeria, that should be pretty easy to get. Just contact your old students association. They always have, or something. I don't know how you contact your school, but I needed was like an English waiver. So I got that, and it varies for different departments, right? For different faculties, it's different. So I did my application, and I got back word in 1 month, and I was checking the portal. I got back a word saying that I had been granted an admission. So I think I had to pay an acceptance fee or something. So I did pay the acceptance fee, and on acknowledgement of payment, you can actually start classes online. I started my classes online because I was not in Czech Republic. So I was like, okay, let me start online while I start the visa process, which is something I'll be talking about in a few minutes. So when I did that, I paid my acceptance fee, and then I was waiting for my admission package, because without your admission package, which is what carries your admission letter, your letter that says where you'll be staying, I can't remember what it's called, and some other documents, you can't really start the visa process. So I did get that in about 2 weeks. I got it directly from post office, had it delivered to my house, and then I got that. And then the next thing for me to do was start my visa application process, which is quite tedious, if I'm being honest. And I usually tell people that this process it looks different for a lot of people. For me, I think because of the state I was in, I was ready to push and just do it, right? So for me, my visa, give and take, my entire visa process took about 2 to 3 months. Both for the application, the period between getting the visa admission package, the visa application process, and the interview, and then traveling, which I started, I think, roughly around November, and I was able to travel by January. I got my visa in December, but I decided to travel in January because I wanted to spend some time with my family. So yes, I went ahead to do the process of what is called the nostrification. And basically, because the country isn't an English speaking country, you need to do a lot of translation with the document. I requested for my transcript, a lot of my O-level results, like JAM, NECO, all of those things. I can't remember if they were actually needed, but I know the most important thing I needed was either your statement of result or your degree certificate. So I needed that. I needed a police report. I know I also needed a health fitness, which I had to translate. So I had to go back and forth between Czech Republic and Prague. So I sent those documents to Czech Republic. I managed to find the translation company, and I brought it, they translated it and sent it back to me with DHL, and it took about 2 weeks. One question I get asked a lot is, within all this process, did I need an agent? No, I didn't need an agent. For me, I feel like I can do it myself. I don't want the suspense of having to wait for information from somebody. I did try to use an agent, but at some point I was like, I'm just going to do this by myself. I went to school. I can't do it. I just started it. I did it myself. I've been doing other of my countries by myself, so I didn't need any agents to do this for me, because it also created that ease of communication and building. Like, I'm that person that likes to communicate with whatever institution I'm going to. I'd like to ask questions. And also, fortunately, like I mentioned, I had a friend who had already, settled in the Czech Republic. So it was a lot easier for me asking her and finding out what I needed and what I didn't need. So all of that got sorted. I got an invite for an interview date, which usually opens up just once in a month. I had my interview, just basic questions. Why are you traveling? What do you know about this country? Yada, 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 all of that. I got it sorted. I got a response, I think about a month after. and I had sent in my passport. My passport came, my visa came, and I left Nigeria for the Czech Republic. I'm going to talk about money and everything that I needed. I think within this period, transparently, between the Ministry of Education, between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, between my visa, between everything, I spent nothing less than somewhere between 2.5 to 3 million naira at the time. And this varies, just logistics. I'm just giving everything in total. I had to pay a total of about 2,000 euros for my school fees for the first one because I had received a merit scholarship that took out part of my school fees. My school fees was supposed to be 8,000 euros, but I got a discount of 2,000, so it totaled to 6,000 euros. So I paid the first 3,000 before I left, and I paid the other 3,000 for a year. So in total, I was supposed to pay, and I paid 12,000 euros for the 2 years of my master's degree program. I forgot to mention that it was 2 years. So when I did that, I got here. I also, because when you're moving to the Czech Republic, it's also advised that your first location or the place you should stay in is in the school dorm, in the hostel. So I managed to get a hostel accommodation from the school. It's easier to communicate between the Ministry of Interior and you when the school is sorting out your accommodation. I got lodged into a hostel. When I came, I saw the hostel. Guys, to be honest, it was a mess. I didn't like it. I complained because it was a cubicle, very tiny. So I had to reach out to them and like, hey, because of my health, I don't want to be in this space. I'm looking for, and they got it sorted in less than 24 hours. And they moved me to another hostel, which was farther, but I mean, it was way better. I got checked into a room that had it was supposed to be, it's like an apartment room. It has 4 people, so 2 people in a room, 2 people. I wanted to be by myself in the room because I'm very, particular about how my space is. So I didn't know anybody. It was a new country. I didn't want to take my chances. So I managed to get the room all to myself. So that happened. And then, yes, regarding another question, job opportunities, I also started because, like I said, I'm also someone that likes to plan. So before I left the country, I'd already started checking for job opportunities in Prague. I was already working. I had work experience. I had my resume. I had everything. And yes, when I got here, 1 month after, I got a job and I was working full time. Unlike the UK and other countries, there's not really, legally, there's hours that you're supposed to work as a student, but if you're able to manage your time well, I don't want to say anything that is not constitutional. I think you should check this. But I used to work and go to school at the same time. My boss was very understanding. There's also a compulsory health insurance, which your employer pays for you. So I was earning pretty good. The salary wasn't bad. But then again, this is me. For some people, the experience looks very different. I managed to get a job within 1 month when I got here. It was a good job. I was working in HR, but it was called customer success, but it was mostly HR duties. And I was working for an onboarding company. So I used to do a lot of contracts. I had to learn on the job. It was good. My boss was Dutch, so he spoke good English. My colleagues were mostly African, so it was good. It was good. And I worked there for about 6 months. And after I moved to my current job, which is working as a HR person, specialist in Microsoft. And I also got this job through LinkedIn, which is a major place where people get jobs. So my advice to you is before you move, start looking for job opportunities. Do a lot of research, guys. I think sometimes when you want to ask people questions when they are moving, it's important that you come correct, like you're asking concrete questions. So is it possible to get a job in the Czech Republic while studying? Of course it is. It's 100%. It depends on what your motivation is. It depends, again, by grace. I'm one who believes firmly in the grace of God, and I believe that God ordered my steps. And yeah, but for some people it's not the same. So I would not want to say that is how much work you put in or anything. It's also, grace that follows you and what you believe. I knew that I didn't want to work in a menial job. I knew I wanted a proper job, so I went for it. And I got my job, and my job was paying really good. Okay, so I then moved out of the dorm. I got my own apartment. And yeah, I think that's it. And something else I'm going to talk about is about the culture, which is a question that I get asked, how are the Czechs? This is a very dicey question. because I mean, before I moved to the Czech Republic, it wasn't my first time traveling abroad. I had been to the US about 3 times, yes, and all were for vacation. I used to travel for vacation. So, as you all know, the US is predominantly English speaking, so it was easier to mix. However, the Czechs are traditionally, they speak Czech, right? So the language barrier, the lack of understanding sometimes can seem a bit problematic. But don't worry, if you live in Prague, some of the major cities, Prague, Brno, and some other cities, you can find English speakers, so it's not difficult. Of course, there are cultural distinctions. So, I mean, not everybody's going to say, like, hey, welcome. You know, there's always that barrier because, I mean, they don't speak English. They're probably seeing your type for the first time. So there's that, like, a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a fiction, but there's that bit of what's the word, but like like cultural discrepancy or whatever it's called, whatever the English is between you and them. But I mean, with time, and I think I'm still trying to understand this, I have people who work with Czechs and they say that, you know, they're really nice, but they can seem a bit cold. Cold, in my honest opinion, cold. But I mean, when you get to know them, when you get spend time with them, you realize that it's just a surface reaction, as I think it would be anywhere else in the world. Yes, there's that. And then something else that I wanted to talk about again was, people ask me, do I think the Czech Republic is somewhere that I can settle in the long run? Well, it completely depends. I moved here because I thought it was a transition for me, but I've come to love the place. I think that the Czech Republic is somewhere that allows you to, if you're a kind of person that likes a very, you know, a life that is free from the hustle and the bustle and all of that, it's a place that allows you to live a very affordable lifestyle. And I think that that's something that I've come to love and enjoy. But at the same time, I'm also someone who has a hustler spirit, so I'm always on the move, and I've seen here as a, you know, a place that I've touched, and by God's grace, if God moves me to another place, then that's good. If not, and I'm here for the long run, then that's fine. But yes, I would advise you, go for it. If you are looking to move for education, if you're looking to move for job opportunities, one advice that I will give you is do your research. When you're reaching out to people, people want to know that you have done the basics and that they are advising you based on, you know, other things. So like putting 2 and 2 together and all of that. So that's it. That's my experience in the Czech Republic. I don't exactly have a lot of local friends, but when I do, I will probably invite them to talk about the culture and all of that. But I'm making this video because of the Japa people that are trying to move. And please do well to send me a message. I will drop my email if you're looking to, and you have some questions to, well, I don't charge. I'm not a immigration person, but I do understand the hassle of trying to move abroad to a different country. So I'll be able to, by God's grace, I can't promise because I have quite a tight schedule, respond to your emails or your messages, or you do well to drop me a message on Instagram. I will be putting my Instagram handle. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share, and drop your comments, and I'll be responding to them. I do love you, and until we meet again, bye.